Hello, everyone. So welcome to today's section on how to win the Erasmus Mundus scholarship. With me this evening, I have three Erasmus Mundus scholars who are going to share their insights on how to win the scholarship. So I have Yemisi here, Donatus here, and Moses. So you'll be hearing from them the application process. And if you have any question, kindly leave a comment in the message box. After this section, I'm going to ask a question. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can also leave your question, get to respond. So before I start asking the scholar some question, kindly subscribe to this channel and like the video so you keep getting more content. So before we go into the process of the Erasmus Mundus scholarship, because I know it's a scholarship that allows you to study in more than one country in Europe. So Yemisi, so what countries is your master's pathway on? So how many countries?
Hi, my name is Yemisi. Thank you, Precious. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Yemisi.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So I am in the Erasmus Mundus European Interdisciplinary Masters in African Studies. And it's by the consortium of 3 universities. There is the University of Porto in Portugal, and then there is the University of Bayreuth in Germany. And then the final part is at the University of Bordeaux-Montaigne in France, in Bordeaux. And then, of course, there is the internship or field work in any African country you want, in any African country at all, maybe, or even in anywhere in the world, in as much as what you're doing is about Africa. And yeah, so those are so I would say 3 at the universities. Of course, for the 4th semester, you go back to any of the 3 universities and do your last semester there. So I would say roughly 4. Yeah.
Are you paying for your internship?
Okay, so there is different parts because it's you have to write a thesis. So it's depending on the university. So I'll be finishing my program at the University of Bayreuth, and I have to write thesis. So I'm doing a field work. And yeah, my field work is in Nigeria, but if you are doing it maybe outside of your own hometown or your country, you get at least the 1,000 euro transport allowance aside from the yearly transport allowance. So you get like 1,000 euro for your transport. But if you're doing it like me, maybe Nigeria, you're not getting anything. Yeah. And if it is internship, well, depending on the organization, if the organization you're working with decide to pay you, good thing. If not, so after my fieldwork, I will be going to Geneva for my internship, and good thing it's paid somehow, because I wouldn't have been able to survive in Geneva without pay. Yeah. So okay. It's depending on you and what you found.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So ask Moses, so your own course, how many countries are you going to that?
Yeah, hello. My program is Chemical Innovation and Regulation, and it's actually designed by the consortium of 3 universities: University of Agave here in Portugal, and University of Barcelona in Spain. Then you have the University of Bologna in Italy. So right now we are in University of Agave in Portugal, which is a coordinating university. So what happens in my program is that we do this 1-year curricular activities in the coordinating university. Then you have to go for your internship, either in Barcelona or in Spain, or in Italy. Then after that, you go for your thesis, and then that's all. So we have obligation to go to at least 2 universities, but you can go to 3 of them if you want to.
Interesting. So you get to travel for free, right?
Well, this is Erasmus, baby.
That's great. Okay, so I'll ask Donatus now. So your own course, how many universities? Donatus, you're muted.
I'm muted.
Okay, yeah, you can tell us now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, good evening, guys. My name is Donatus, and I'm a student of the International Masters in South European Studies. My program is actually coordinated by six institutions, which forms the consortium of the program. But in my own case, my institutions are firstly the coordinating institution, the University of Glasgow in the UK. And my next institution will be the National Cathedral University of Athens. And tentatively, I hope to conclude at the University of, I don't know how to pronounce that name actually, Universidad Autónoma de Madrid. So it's a university at the Spanish states. I'm supposed to conclude there, but I'm actually thinking of switching it to Italy based on the courses offered at Spain and those offered at the Italy pathway. So generally, the program is focused on European studies, politics, development, economic trajectory, and stuff like that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So you get to see that these people, you're going to be in more than one country studying. I think that's the beauty of the Erasmus scholarship. But then something I know about Erasmus is like before you get the scholarship, you have to like write personal statement, right? And then CV, and then the next process. So I'd like for each of you to like share tips, maybe regarding your course. And I think it's something they can also apply to more than one courses. I'd like to start with Yemisi first. So Yemisi, for your own pathway, how did you go about your personal statement that made you stand out to be qualified as one of the students on the scholarship for your course?
Okay, thank you so much. So, like I said, the name of my program is European Interdisciplinary Masters in African Studies. And I think the key word there is that it is interdisciplinary. So you can come from any particular, you can come from anywhere, any particular field or background and still get into my program because it's interdisciplinary. The key thing is that whatever you are doing with it has interest in Africa. So you can be from health or environment or languages or art or economics. You can be from climate change or geography. In as much as your interest lies in Africa, you are welcome. So I think that's like the good thing about the program, but also the headache of the program, because people always ask, so how do I apply? How do I get into this? Because there's no particular pathway. There's nothing you can say that, okay, just by that you're interested in this and you will get it. No, I think I applied for 3 Erasmus and it was the most difficult to write for me because I wanted to know what they want. And then, so what I was able to realize is that if you're applying for my program, which is EMAS, you need to actually sit down first and ask yourself, why am I interested in this program? And how do I tie whatever it is that I'm interested in into the major focus of this program, which is Africa development? You know, if I'm interested, for instance, in geography or climate change, how do I tie it to some of the challenges in Africa, for instance, in my homeland, in Nigeria, for instance, in Nairobi, in Kenya? You know, so for me, the most important thing that they want to see in your application SOP is that interest, is that you really know there's a challenge in this particular field, and you're able to tie your interest in Africa to your field and what you want to achieve with the program. What the program offers is like a blank check. So we have a lot of courses. Some universities you're allowed to take there are different courses and you're allowed to like chart your own pathway. So I studied English language and French diploma, and I worked in the development sector. The program is heavy on the development sector and development and international organizations and, you know, all of that. So what I did was to look for the courses that match my interests and my future plans. So there are going to be courses and you're going to have to choose from them. And for instance, in one of the universities, we had so many courses and you just have to sit down and choose. And at some point, I wasn't doing courses with my colleagues. I was probably like the only person doing the courses I was doing. That's how very diverse it is. So you'd have to go, for me, I always ask people that before they write their SOP, you'd have to go through the program, you'd have to look at the courses, you'd have to sit down and ask yourself how these courses, how the objective of the program relates to what you want to do. I'm trying to, I don't know if the question is posed to me. Is it okay?
No, it's not time to take questions now.
Okay. So I wanted to, so I think that's what I do personally. And once you're able to identify the areas, the topics and the courses that you feel align with yours, then all you need to do is to chart that pathway and say that this is the problem I'm interested in. And this is how I feel like I would solve it with this program. And these particular courses with the background I have in this and this will help me solve it. And when I do that, this is what I want to do with it. And good thing, Erasmus doesn't ask you to come back. So you don't have to say that, I want to come back to change the world in my hometown. You can always just say that this is why I'm interested and this is what I want to pursue in the future with it. It doesn't have to be tied to what you're doing in Africa or what you are doing, that you want to come back and save the world. I don't know if I was able to answer your question to an extent or if I should go on.
No, that's fine, let me see. So that's for you now doing the African studies. So I'll ask Moses. So Moses, do you have like a formula you use for yours to like write your personal statement, or is it statement of purpose that the university gave you admission and then you also got the scholarship?
Okay. First of all, people really need to know what the Erasmus Mundus Master Scholarship is about. You understand? And like EMC, like we just said, sorry, I got your name wrong.
Yeah, Yemis is the name actually.
Okay, Yemis is the name. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, fine, that's good. All right, it's an interdisciplinary field of study. You understand? Which means that you're not going to have your normal chemistry or your normal biology, normal, the degrees we take in school. This is because the way these programs are designed, like maybe if professors have colleagues around, like in my program, for example, when like minds come together, they develop a course, a program, and they develop the curriculum. And then they apply to EU for funding. You understand? Which, after consideration, if the European Union decides to fund the program, they will receive the funds. And from that funding, they will now give scholarships to students to come and study these programs. So that's just how it is. And it differs from program to program. And if you're looking at the selection criteria and application process, there is no general standard to, looking at it. All that matters is for you to look at the program you want to apply for and make sure you go through their guidelines, go through the application guidelines, and if possible, look for someone that is already studying in that field to maybe guide you through. So in particular, my program, we were assessed based on 5 criteria. It's a baseline for every other program, but you may find slight differences. You understand? The first is academic excellence. Yes, you know what I mean by academic excellence. If you have high grades in school, it goes a long way to help your application. But one good thing about Erasmus is that unlike other scholarships, they don't dwell on too much on this high grades, first class, and so on. We have colleagues that have 2-2 that got the scholarship. You understand? They also consider your professional background. Do you understand? If you have a 2-2, for example, and then you can convince the selection committee that, yes, I am an expert in my field. This is what I can do. Do you understand? They will pick you, and you have a wealth of experience professionally. They will pick you over the person that has first class and don't even know how to express himself in the SOP. You understand? So academic excellence is a criteria. Also suitability. They have to check for suitability. This program being interdisciplinary does not mean that, you know, you can study philosophy and come and do a chemistry related course. It will not work. Do you understand? You know, you have to select programs that are, you know, in the same niche. Like, let me just use that term. Do you understand? Like in my program, Chemical Innovation and Regulation, we have colleagues in chemistry, which is the base of the program. We have colleagues in biochemistry, we have colleagues in chemical engineering, microbiology, and so on. You can see that these fields are interrelated. There is no way you pass through school in this studying this field that you will not do anything chemistry. So make sure you watch the suitability of your of your um of your academic background so that it's you know suits the objectives of the program you're applying to. And then the motivation, yes, this is where everybody try to break their heads, but it may not just be the most important part of the application, because I think all these things are weighted equally, but people dwell much on motivation. Do you understand? In my program, all these criteria that I'm mentioning, they carried equal marks. Do you understand? Your academic excellence, your suitability, your motivation, all of them carried equal marks. So if you're working on your SOP, make sure you don't lose out in the other parts of the selection criteria. And what do you do in your motivation? You know, people always say, give us sample, give us sample. And I tell them, there is no one sample that can stand as a reference for all the programs. Because when you are applying, you will see that when you come to that part, they will tell you what to write about. You will be told, ask specific questions. You understand? And then if I give you my motivation letter, the one I used to apply, and it's a chemistry related, and then you are applying for something like Erasmus Mundus Masters in Dance and Culture. Do you understand? You will try to write your motivation letter that look like my own. So what I actually do is, if it is not my field, I will tell you the only thing I can do is to correct your grammar. But you need to look for an expert in your field or a current scholar in your field to look at your motivation. Do you understand? And then you have to look at what they ask you to write about, and then try as much as possible to convey your academic experience and your professional experience and suit it into the objectives of the program. That is just what it's about. And also, very importantly, language requirements. It was also part of what was used to assess us. Now, this is very tricky. The Erasmus programs are designed to be delivered in English, though, you know, you're studying in Europe, and in Europe, uh, most countries don't speak English as the official language, but the joy of it is that these programs are designed to be delivered in English. So you'll be studying in English. And then since this scholarship is open, not just scholarship per se, because we also have self-funded colleagues in the same programs. Since these programs are open to application worldwide, they will need to know that you are able to speak English. Do you understand? So you may find that they say you need to provide English language proficiency results or certificate like IELTS or TOEFL and so on. But coming from Nigeria, most programs regard and recognize Nigeria as an English-speaking country. So they will say, if you're from Nigeria, you are exempted from presenting a language proficiency certificate. But some programs are strict on this language requirement, but they are very few. Some will tell you, okay, if you studied in English, like if your bachelor's was in English, go to your school and bring a certificate that will tell us that you are proficient in English. All you have to do is just go to your school. You understand? Whether you are exempted or not, if you're applying for this scholarship, is very important you have that letter. Do you understand? Get the letter. Go to your school. Maybe, I don't know if it's your Dean of Student Affairs or your Dean of School or HOD or registrar. Just get a letter that says, oh, so student studied here. And in this school, our medium of instruction is English. So this will certify that so person is proficient in English. So when they ask for it, you present it. Even though they didn't ask for it, make sure you present it. You understand? Because one funny thing happened in my application. Presenting my certificate, my letter from my school, even when I was not required to, I saw the grade, the mark I got for that category. And I was assuming that, let's say I didn't submit this English language proficiency certificate, I would have gotten 2 points lesser. And in my program, we use 0.1 or 0.2 points to eliminate the candidate behind you. So it is that competitive. Then that is that about the language proficiency. The last one, which people don't usually take seriously, is a reference. Yes, reference is very,
Moses, we'll get to that later. The reference
all right.
aspect. Thank you so much. So I'll ask Donatus now, because I know that Donatus is taking something in European study, something related to EU, but he's an African. And I'm wondering, why would Erasmus give him that scholarship? And just to also to add to say that, are you saying that, like, in personal statements, there are certain things that have to be there? I know personal statement, you have to talk about the cause or something. So Donatus, can you also share with us your own experience about how you went about your personal statement? Since you haven't studied something different, why did you even decide to study that course?
Actually, I studied the course. I'm studying the course because, let me say, I opted
Remind us the name of that course again.
Okay, Erasmus International Masters in South European Studies. So my choice was contingent upon the fact that the program is coherent with my background. I have a background in politics and international relations, and largely the program talks about politics in Europe, development studies, international affairs, migration, climate, stuff like that. So outside the name is obviously in line with what I've done in the past. And that was what actually informed my application. And concerning the SOP, yeah, I think what I did basically was what the other scholars have spoken about. Perhaps, yeah, that's just what I did. You just have to, I think it's all about justification, basically. Why are you applying and why do you think you are qualified? Why should we pick you and not pick this person? Why should you pick you and not pick this other person? It's very, very important. What do you have that distinguishes you, right? So, and it also comes with the issue of communication, because I have been reviewing a number of SOPs lately. I noticed that, yeah, let me even say this. When I started my program, I happened to be the first West African student to have joined the program. So I had a time during the orientation of my program with my program director, like the overall prof in charge of my program. She told me, and I will never forget, that the problem that they have with African young applicants is not as if I'm the first person from West Africa because they have not been getting applications. It's because they get applications that are not worthy of scholarship conferment. Let me repeat. They get applications that they cannot confidently award scholarships for. And I think this still boils down to your SOP. Because for me, it's the strongest weapon in this thing. It's the strongest weapon. Outside, every other thing is important, quite all right. But your SOP is you. And you are the person that will do this study. So it's your SOP that is the most important document in your application. It's just good that your recommendation letters are consistent. It's good that your CV is consistent, but your SOP is the strongest weapon. Even in the cases where perhaps a program apportions maybe same kind of marks to the SOP. There will be a technical value for the SOP compared to any other aspect of the application, because it's basically where you say who you are, why you are applying, why they should trust you, because they are trusting you by giving you a scholarship offer. I hope you know. Because graduate school basically is very stressful, it's very engaging. You have to make these guys understand that, yes, even if you trust me to give me admission and give me funding, you will not be disappointed, right? So first of all, you have to paint the idea of who you are, what have you been doing, and what are you doing now? What have you done before? What are you doing currently? What do you hope to do in the future? How are these things, how do they concern this program? There must be a synchronym of all these parameters with the program. That's the justification approach to the whole thing. Because if there's a disconnect between any aspect, that means you perhaps have not done your research properly, or you are applying for the wrong program. There should be a synchronym between where you're coming from, where you are now, where you are going, and the program objective. And this must be adequately certified on the SOP, otherwise you will miss it. And of course, you don't have to re-echo your CV on your SOP. Your CV should deal basically with, signposting major things you did at certain areas of your growth, whether academics or professional. But your SOP should just give a general review of those things, not necessarily re-emphasizing your CV. It is wrong. It's one of the don'ts of writing an SOP. Do not re-emphasize your CV on the SOP. Just try to create a general perspective, highlighting issues that might be referred to, like they can refer to your CV to get details, not necessarily that you are reinforcing your CV through your SOP, right? So that's just basically what it is. Learn to justify and communicate, not necessarily too verbose, but communicate with an active voice and confidently, but not arrogantly. Try to write in a very professional manner and try to write very, very well. Because like the previous scholar has said, Erasmus programs are delivered worldwide in English. Even if there are optional courses that may be taken in other languages, it has been made a benchmark generally across board that all programs are delivered in English. So you have to demonstrate a command of English, and you can only do this through your SOP. Right? I've read SOPs that you find out that applicants are very, very properly ready for a program, but there is a disconnect in the communication process. I think we should also try to work on our communication skills. It's very, very important. Try to sharpen your English. Not that you should be speaking grammar, but just communicate in a very, very professional manner. When people look at what you've written, sometimes it's not about grammar. It could just be an idiomatic expression. It could just be that your statement of purpose is very, very coherent. When it's coherent, it flows. One paragraph gives way, signpost the next paragraph. The other paragraph gives way. When somebody reads your SOP and is coherent from the beginning to the end, it just gives them an idea of this is not just an anyhow applicant, right? This is somebody that really knows what they are doing. Like you start by talking about your professional background, you could just link that to about your academic. You could find a way of tying that to how it informs your professional engagement. Then you could find a way of creating a gap in the whole of the process, tie the gap to the program. Like, okay, having done all this, I've noticed that there is areas like literature review now, where you want to now say, okay, this is what I want to contribute. Okay, I've done all these things, but I've noticed that this thing is still lacking. Okay, this is where this program will come in. And of course, when this program coming from this perspective, I see myself better position for so and so things. I see myself do so and so things. You find out that there is a lot of justifications. You just overwhelm the scholarship guys or the selection committees with so many reasons that they cannot just let you go, right? So this is basically what the SOP is all about. Justify why you should be selected, justify why you should be given a scholarship. Because remember, your admission is different from being given a scholarship. You have to also justify why they should give you a scholarship. So that's that for that. Yeah.
Okay. So is there any need to make reference to the course modules? Because I didn't hear that from any of you, because like in other scholarship, I know sometimes I just want to say, okay, from this module, maybe it's because of my kind of scholarship, but I don't know if that is relevant for Erasmus Mundus scholarship, that you have to like maybe pick maybe one module or say this module can help me, or it's not necessary to add that in your SOP. Yeah, Missy. Is it necessary?
Yeah, I did mention that I was citing an example earlier, and I said that because my program is very interdisciplinary, so people from different academic background comes to do it, from sciences to arts to social sciences. It's important that you go through the modules and the courses and decide that these courses are going to really help my, my vision and what I want to do. And then so you can refer to the courses exactly. You can talk about the courses because you usually would have a summary of what the course is about and even the people teaching them. And so you could always just refer to some of these courses and talk about how it's going to shape your idea and what your objective about pursuing the master's is going to be.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So now let's go to the CV part, because someone has asked, because I know Erasmus, you must submit CVs. Not all scholarship asks for your CV, but I know for the Erasmus Mundus scholarship, you have to submit a CV. And most time they have like this Europass kind of CV thing, which is like different from the normal CV. So Moses, the science man, is that like a science CV different from the art CV?
Okay. Some programs actually ask for Europass CV. It's just like the European CV format, and yeah, like the European CV for what they use around here. And it's not actually difficult. There are samples of it out there. If you just type on Google Europass CV format, you're going to find it in document that you can edit. You understand? You can edit. And if you don't want to do that, you can go to Europass, please, what's the website again, guys? Europass website, right? Yeah, you can
Yeah,
go to
just Google
Europass.
Europass, I think.
Just Google Europass. Then you will create an account. Then when you confirm your email, you can start filling the fields one by one. You add your academics, you add your profession, you add, just like you are, writing up a CV. So when you do all that, you'll be able to download your CV in any style you want. So that's downloaded. It will carry a letterheaded European, letterhead, and you can use that for your application. But some people actually use normal CVs for the applications. If your program specifies that you use a Europass CV, you just have to use it. So it's either you download the formats from Google, or you go to Europass website and build your CV. When you build it, you can now download it. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Yemisi. Yemisi has dropped the CV link on the chat box, so you can see it there. And I also dropped it on my YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and then you like this video. But also in the CV, I know, okay, so there's a format, but then in filling, some people like to write a lot of stories, like when they're filling CV, they want to put everything together. So Donatus, I want to ask you this question. Like, are there like some specific things, even though it has a formula that there's head, maybe work experience, education. So how should they write that? Should you just write all your work experience, right? I usher 10 people, I did this, I did that. Like what kind of language? We were talking about language. How would they make the CV standards, even though when using a template?
I think you should just learn to use the active voice on your CV. Use the active voice. That means, like for example, you're able to manage the correspondence of an office while you work there, rather than say I was responsible for, I was charged. How will I use a passive voice now? Like, you know how you speak now, that as though you are not confident about yourself. Don't speak like that. You can say that I was responsible for the office correspondence. I manage the office correspondence. Just use language that communicates the fact that you own this responsibility, you are responsible for it, and you took initiative probably to make things better while you were there, right? So that's one of the things you should do. You speak with the active voice. And of course, your CV is good that if you have anything that you could use to substantiate, maybe some certificate or something. You could put them on Google Drive, add links, because these guys too are also becoming smart. They know some of these applicants can be fraudulent sometimes just to be competitive. So if you can even substantiate some of your claims, maybe you add a certificate through a link, you add some basic stuff, they could help to make your CV more competitive. And you could have a profile on your CV. So a profile is like a short introduction, like at the opening of your CV. Okay, I'm this, this is what I'm pursuing. I believe in so and so, you know. And that profile definitely should be something that resonates with the ideology or with the objective of the program, right? So yeah, that's basically it. Then you have your sections, your academic, you make your grades very, very, you know, like very, very obvious. Like, then I usually recommend that you convert your CGPAs to percentage, given that some countries will not even understand what you mean when you say you are 4.0 out of 5.0. But once you put them in percentage, probably in brackets, they get, okay, there's nowhere in the world where percentage is higher. Once it's 70, we know, okay, it's over 100. Was it 80? Oh, the person is very close to the peak. Was it 95? Oh, this is a very good student, right? So it's good that you have maybe convert it very, very easy. You can say, if you have 4.0 in your CGP, you can say, okay, 4.0 of 5.00 in percentage. Google will just give you what your percentage stuff look like, right? So that's one of the ways you can also give visibility to your final grades in school. And then, of course, you can highlight some of the courses that you did under your BSc, and then you make sure that the courses you are aligning are the courses that are necessary to the program you are applying for, of course. Then, yeah, that's that for that. Professional, the same thing. Yes, volunteering, leadership, you know, stuff that just shown that you've been active. And then mock, very important, courses that you've done, online courses that you've done. And, you know, of course, you don't expect your consortium to take you likely when you should have an online course delivered by United Nations, delivered by the World Bank Group on your CV, and somebody just presents a first-class certificate for scholarship. You can take it and you're a 2-1 student. It's that simple, right? Because graduate school, like I said initially, is very, very engaging. It's very, very, very overwhelming. So these guys want to see that you will not be thrown off. Like you will not be frustrated along the line with the level of work that you face, right? And by having certain credentials on your CV, you've already demonstrated responsibility. You've demonstrated a high level of determination and commitment, because for you to have solved the web, get certain certifications, it shows that you are up and doing. So a first-class student that just had a 5.00 and has nothing else to show, you will defeat him on the contest, right? Because some of the credentials you have presented have shown you to have demonstrated you to be approved. Like, this is somebody that can research, this is somebody that can work, this is somebody that can face the rigors of postgraduate study. It's not about, let me even shock you. Sometimes you can have funding in the US without necessarily being a first-class student. What do they look at? They want to see that probably during your undergraduate studies, you made an A in your research design course. What did you make there? This, because you are going for research, of course. PhD is all about research. Nobody cares if you had A in your normal courses. What do you have in your research? Because you are going for a big time research job, right? So sometimes what we think are really important might not be what the scholarships guys want to see, right? So there are other certain side attractions that once you've covered, they can just give it to you and forget about the academic guys that are very, very good in terms of scoring the A's during classes. So that is just another thing I want to add. And I think, yeah, that's then which other thing again on the CV? Yeah, volunteering. If you have any language skill, you can add. If yeah, conferences, very important. If it doesn't necessarily mean to be that you must have certificates for them, you can add any conferences you've attended. You know, try to attend latest conference, not like the conference you attended 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Try to attend conferences with good organizations too, like COP Africa now. You find out African Development Bank organizes a lot of conferences, United Nations, various subsidiaries. Rockefeller's Foundation. There are a lot of them because these things are what you use to beautify your CV. You are going for an international contest. It's not child's play. Some programs, you cannot even bring your head at all because you find out that people are too good. So you just have to give in your best in this thing. And it comes with every aspect of the applications, your volunteering, your SOP, your academic, your professional, just find a way of spicing them up and making sure that you stand out among all the crowd that they will have. Yeah, that is just it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Donatus, for that. I want to ask Yemisi this question, and maybe other scholars can chip in. So someone is asking that, is it compulsory to have, maybe what you did for your undergrad is what you are going to apply for your master's? Because I know some scholarship doesn't mind, because me, I have a science background, but my master's, and I'm doing it in social science. So I don't know if it maybe depends on the course, if the course is flexible. So must you have done that during your undergrad? Can you switch field? And then for the length of the CV too, it's just, I think it's tied together. Is there like a specific page? Okay, maybe your CV should be 1 page or 3 or 10 page. You know, some people like to have up to 10 pages. So what do you think, Yemisi, about the adding, changing fields? And then also, if someone doesn't have work experience, and then the person wants to study a new course, I'm just wondering how these things are going to happen. But how do you think they can tie around all this together?
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm just going to give, because I mean, it's from my own experience, I'm just going to talk about it. About changing courses. Like I said, I did languages when I was in my bachelor's. It was purely languages. So, but this course is both interdisciplinary and heavy on political sciences, social sciences, and research, which wasn't what I mean, I love to write short stories and poetry, but I mean, I'm doing a lot of social science research here now. So for me, what worked is that I had work experience in the development sector. What I always tell people is that you need to look first at the requirement of your program. And sometimes we want to work by faith, and it's good, but you need to be sure that you are eligible for the program you're applying for. So I was able to apply for my program because, I mean, it says it's interdisciplinary. I applied also for GLODEB, and my experience with GLODEB, I feel like it will be more beneficiary for this question. So I love GLODEB because it's about global development, but it's very heavy on economics, and economics is what I didn't do in school. Like I said, I'm all for poetry and short stories, so, but I love it. I understand some part because of my work experience, and I wanted to do it. So I contacted everybody. I did courses on mock courses. But the more I write the SOP, the harder it is for me. It was also the only program I paid application fee for because I really love it. But I wasn't given. And I know the reason why I wasn't given. It's really very heavy on economics. And if you don't have economics background, and you have people that have economics background, you already know the end of it. Yeah. So you need to check for the eligibility. No matter how much you love a course, if they say this is the eligibility, and if you don't meet it, apply if you want and hope for a miracle, but also have it at the back of your mind that the people who have what it takes will get it before you. So you need to check the eligibility and know that it is a course that you can do. There are courses that have more emphasis on work experience. So if you have work experience in that field, you need to, because everything is about its competition, right? You need to convince them in as much as you can convince them, okay, yes, I don't have a background in social sciences. I know poetry, but I have worked so years in the development sector. This is the things I did. These are the things I did. These are the publications I made. These are you need to show your work. So it is a competition, and you need to show that you are worth it. So for me, what I would say is be sure that you're eligible for it and go for the programs that fit you. And if you are trying to change courses and there's a way to do that, then go for mock courses, go for online courses to develop your skills in that area, so that in your CV, you can show them, CV is about selling the best part of yourself. It's not about writing all about your experiences. And this is where scholarship is work. Some people say scholarship is a full-time work, and I agree with that. Because you can't submit, I think you can't submit the same CV for every program. I think you can submit the same SOP for every program. You have to learn to tailor it. So what I did for all the programs I applied for so many programs. And for each of my CV, I had to tailor it. There are some experiences I don't add it some because it's not needed. I don't put all my experiences. I look for all the specifics. Sometimes I go on LinkedIn and look for the people, the list of the people that got the program. And so I just check what are they doing? What were they doing before? What do they look like? What is their personnel? You know? And it helps me craft a CV that makes sense. So it's a craft, and I agree that SOP is important. But for instance, in my program, the mark given to for CV is about 20 to 30 mark, 20 to 30% of the 100%. So that tells you that that's a lot. So you need to actually craft your CV the same way you craft your SOP. If your program is asking for a CV, you need to check, what is my strength area? If it is academics, there's your strength area. Focus on the academics. Give more attention to your academics. Give more attention to the courses you've done.
Let me see. We can't hear you. Am I the only one? Let me see. I think is it maybe network or something? We couldn't hear you at a point. Okay. While Yemisi tries to figure that out, I'm going to ask Moses. Okay, Yemisi, I think you're echoing.
Oh,
Yeah, you're echoing.
What could be the cause? Okay, I'll just unmute them.
Okay, just allow your mute for a while. I think you've personally answered that question, because before applying for any program, always check for the requirements. They always state the requirements. This is what we are looking for. This is what we want. So if no matter how you love that program and you not meet the requirements, either you just look aside and go for something that fits you, or probably you can reach out to the school to say, okay, yeah, I know I saw the requirement is this and that, but this is perspective I want to bring. I have this. Should I apply? They will tell you, okay, go ahead or don't go ahead. So you don't waste your time and your energy doing that. So before we start taking other questions, I want to ask Moses about the references, because we were trying to talk about that before. So how relevant is references to the application? Because some people are like, okay, and I have a very strong CV, I've written my essay very well, I'm confident. Just meet someone to say, so who should write your references for you? And how long should it be? Does length really matter? What do you think, Moses?
Okay, yes. I was eager to talk about the reference earlier on, because, when there are some things that will become very, very explicit to you as you move on. And, references actually matters. As a matter of fact, some programs go as far as contacting your referees and speaking with them about you. Because once you are applying, they will request you to agree to the times that they may contact your referees without informing you. You understand? And actually, in my program, that is used as a tiebreaker, like your referees. So you need to have quality reference. And when I'm talking about reference, I'm not talking about the letter. You understand? I'm talking about that letter. Yes, don't confuse reference and reference letter. I'm talking about your referees. Your referees need to be verifiable people, in the sense that what they watch out for reference is your reference must be traceable to an institution, because you'll be asked to specify their names, their affiliations, their positions, their contact phone number, correct phone number, and their email address. Why this happens is because people forge references during applications. It's the last thing people do. You can just meet your friend, please sign here for me. You understand? It can work for some people. But when you come to some programs, you will hit the, you will hit, you will stumble. Because when we applied for my program, they actually told us that if two candidates are tying in all ramifications, they can use their reference, their referees, to break the tie. And that was when I took it very, very importantly. So my advice on selecting your referees should be, if you have academic and professional experience, at least Erasmus scholarship application required not less than 2 referees. You should have 1 academic referee. What I mean by academic referee is someone probably your faculty, your department, former faculty, former department, an expert that can comment on your academic suitability. Do you understand? Because your referees need to know you to your date of birth. Many people don't know that. Yes. Why we just say, sir, please sign this thing for me, sign this thing. When they are asked for reference, not all programs will ask you to come and upload reference letters. I'll talk about that later. But the ones that will ask you to come and submit reference letter, in the letter, your referee has to know your date of birth. He has to know what you graduated with. No, he has to speak personally about you and commenting on your academic competence. And what will I suggest? I will suggest use a professor. Use a professor. If you maybe can't find a professor, can use a PhD holder, it's fine. But not just only using a professor, use an office holder. What do I mean by an office holder? It can be your HOD, the HOD of your department. It can be your dean of school. If you have access to those, please use them. That office commands respect. And when reference letter is coming, it's coming on an institutional letterhead. Don't bring a blank letter and submit. It has to come on an institutional letterhead. And the contact of your referees, watch out. Email address, very important. Most programs do not like Gmail, Yahoo Mail, also. You understand? Because people can forge these referees. But when you're having reference coming from at unn.edu.ng, you need to be a staff of UNN to get that kind of email address. Do you understand? So imagine you having a reference from the HOD of chemistry department. You understand? That one cannot be for them. You just need to Google UNN website, go to the website, look for the chemistry department, and they will see your referee there. So that is that about that. And if you have professional experience, like if you are working, you can use the professional reference, like your managers, your directors, they can write a reference for you. In the same way, let those references come on your institution letterhead wherever you are working. If you are not working, fine, get 2 references from your academics, from your academic line. And you should know that there are several ways that each program requests their references. The first one I talked about already, you upload your reference while you're applying. That one, you get it from your referees and upload. But then there are some programs that will tell you, all we need is the name and contact of your referees. So that when you finish applying, they will not send the mail to the referees. It can be a form of survey, questions, personalized questions about you. And that is why I say your referee needs to know you down to earth. Or maybe that time he'll not be calling you, okay, well, when were you born again? What did you study again? You understand? You need to, build a personal relationship with your referees. Let them know you. Do you understand? That is that. Some may be told to send an email attaching the letters to a specific email address that is designated for referees. for accepting reference letters for the application. And that email address must come from their institutional email address. And then another one may be a link sent to the referees. And when they open it, it takes them to your portal where you were applying before. And they will be asked to answer some questions there. So you need to understand these modes of refereeing, rather. And it will now tell you how to select your references. Yeah, if you go to select a referee that is not tech savvy, you're in trouble. Yes, a referee that doesn't know how to open email address and respond to you are in big trouble if you're not the one to upload the references, and then maybe they are to do something for you online. You know, you need to, the same way they scrutinize you yourself, you need to scrutinize your referees. So get quality references. I think that's all about references.
Thank you so much, David, for doing justice to that. So I want Yemisi to speak because I know any moment from now she might leave the meeting. So Yemisi, I know that like you change fields, because I hear Moses talking a lot about academic referencing. So what about for someone who is changing fields, probably a different course now? Do you think, and maybe this is something totally different, do you think academic reference would be relevant at this point, or rather the person should go for a professional experience? What do you think, MBC? And what about the length? Does length actually matter in referencing? Some people will say, no, the referee should not write one pager. It should be up to 2 pages or 3 pages. Or how did you work around your referencing?
Okay, so let me start from the length. Can you hear me?
Yeah, clear now.
Okay, awesome. So as a rule of thumb, I'd always believed personally that reference letter shouldn't be more than a page, except if the program asks for more than a page, just like SOPs as well, personally. So I'd always ask for just 1 page. I mean, a detailed 1 page should make sense. And I used my professors actually from school to write my thesis, because one thing I discovered was I didn't ask early. So I said I was going to have a work referee and a professor. That's like 2 from the 2 angles. And then a day before I submitted, I realized that they were asking me for just professors, I mean my school referees. So that means I can't use any of the work referees I have planned to use. So programs actually have specifics, and Erasmus has lots of courses, and as many as those courses are, so are the differences in those courses. So some programs might demand that you have 1 from work and 1 from school, while some programs demand that you have the 2 from school, and some programs don't ask for anything. In the case where they don't ask, it doesn't hurt to use 1 from work and 1 from school. In the case they asked for me, I used 2 because I think research was really high, because I'm going to be doing it based on research. So they need to know that I can research. So even though I was from the humanities, definitely I do research anyway. So the professors had to write about the research I did. And it's not just about how you're able to research, it's just also about how you're able to relate with people and how well you did back in school. So there are a lot of things obviously to be written there, but also if they're asking for 2 of school referees, that means they really are high on knowing how well you are, how good you are in research. And it's only your professors that can say a lot about that. So I think it's really depending on what the program is asking for. I missed the other questions you asked.
No, I think you answered them personally. You
Answered
talked about
the
the length, you said
Yeah.
1 page. But for me, I'll prefer a reference to write up to 2 pages. Well, that's just my personal thought though.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So do you have like any final tips or advice? So maybe for the interviews, so maybe you can go off when you want to leave.
Okay. Okay. I think I'll still be here for a while, maybe
Okay.
another 15 minutes. But if you want me to go ahead with that, I can go ahead.
Okay, since you are there for a while, but Donatus, I want to ask, because people are talking about professors, we are like maybe Africa or Nigeria, you know how difficult it is to assess your professor. So what strategy will you give them? Now, since you are saying it should be someone who is a professor or maybe the head of the department. I don't know, Donatus, if you actually use your academics. Like me, I never use my academic in my reference. I don't want to even have that conversation. But because my scholarship is flexible on that, but I don't know about maybe your program in Erasmus, if it must be academics. But what of someone who graduated from school for a long time, like 10 years back, and now you're trying to apply for Erasmus? Do you think academics should be a good point? Because now you've worked all these years, maybe you won't lose touch with your professors. Now you're not like in the school setting, you're in the work setting, you have more, someone can attest to you. So she used to stick back because it's school, and then your HOD, maybe your HOD just write 5 lines for you. You think because he's a professor, that's going to stand out, rather than a professional who can write 1 page or up to 2 pages. How did you go about the referencing thing?
To start, I want to react to the fact that you said some persons have left school for like 10 years. I think the reference aspect of application has to do with mentorship and mentor and mentee relationship. If you want to make or get the best out of that process of referencing, you have to be a very good networker. You cannot get the best out of the reference thing if you are the person that will call on your reference or your referee on the day that you need a reference. Personally, I'm not an eye service person. Most of the lecturers I'm inclined to from school to date, they know everything about me. They are part of the reasons why I'm in UK today, and they will even be part of the reasons why I'll be in the US. Should I go there to do my PhD? So that I've met new lecturers in the UK and probably the next institutions I'll be going to. I would still like one of them to even be part of the references I will always, you get. So I think the thing is more of mentorship and building relationship. And that person that have left school for so long, did he not write project? Project brings you closely to a particular academic person. So there is no how, if you are responsible, that your supervisor should not always be a part of your success story anyhow. I'm not trying to be hard, but I'm just trying to state the fact. If you are a very, very proactive person, somebody that guided you, if there's such one, somebody that guided you through your final thesis in school as an undergraduate, should be a part of your life as far as success is concerned. And you still need human beings, of course, in life. So you always need to prof, how is life now? How things are? Because me and my prof, they speak pidgin. One of them is even the references I used for my program. I didn't even use professional. I drafted myself because they were confident in me. They just asked me to go and draft and bring them for approval. So I designed the letterhead. I didn't even have letterhead. I used my system to create one for my school. It's not fraud, I know what it looks like in my school. I created it and it's official. So long that they've authorized it, that's what matters. And if they are contacted, they will say yes, they're the one that write it. Even if I was the one that write it for them, it doesn't matter anymore because they've appended their signature. And when the program says, did you see this? Yes, it's from me. Because actually before they approve, they will read, okay, this is what Donatus have written, and this thing is going as though it's me. Okay, I'm signing because I agree with everything that is here, right? That's another aspect of references. It comes with trust in a way. How you build the relationship. How do they know you? How do they know your abilities? These things, they come to play in all of these things, because a professor that I've seen you saying that Donatus must be able to do excellently well in your school as part of his letter and his signing, is perhaps know that, okay, this guy cannot fail no matter what. You are not going to teach him algebra. He must pass last. So he signs, right? It comes with that relationship you build. And like Moses said, it's very important too. Although it's not oftenly something that will be stated expressly, but I also will advise that you make your referees quality people. Like, look for qualitative people to do referees for you. Like that somebody is an academic might not be enough, but the bottom line usually is get somebody that will give you good wordings, somebody that will refer you well, right? But outside of that, which is the generic requirement, or which is the most important thing, is there's also that influence that the office of the referee could have. Oh, somebody of this kind of position references somebody it speaks well. For example, if your HOD is referencing you, it's different from just an academic in your department referencing you. Because your HOD is an experienced person to have been given such an office in the department. So for him to not give you a recommendation, it shows that not just an academic, somebody with, in academics, there's also hierarchy. That's why you have professor emeritus. So for somebody that's an HOD in a department to refer you, it shows that you've also done your homework to a large extent, right? Like for me, for example, the people that referred me, one was a former HOD and a former dean of my faculties. All those portfolios are stated at the introduction of my referees. I did the drafting and I make sure I highlighted them there. The other one is a prof and as at then, is the head of one institute of the whole school. Like, some schools have institutes for this, institutes for that. The professor was in charge of that institute. I made sure that these portfolios were highlighted on my referees. And like Moses said, these people must be traceable to an institution. I personally do not like referees putting at Gmail, at Yahoo. It doesn't make any sense. It makes your application looks fraudulent in a way. Sometimes it could be doubted, but once at uniabuja.edu.ng, nobody can question that, except the person really needs to now contact them, and of course they will reply through their official mail. And like you said, they should be tech-savvy, because sometimes some applications will require, because there was one application I did, first of all, like the first year I applied to Erasmus, because this is actually my second attempt. I actually got reserved for that year. One of the applications was directly to their email, like they will be the one to come and react to it. And some of the questions that they will be asked are very detailed. And that is why you need to be close to your referee. They will be asking them, what did this cause? Did you do this? What was his call? Personal questions that if somebody is not very, very close to you, they can't even react. Do you get it? But I found something that references that involve a prof getting an email from the program are usually more detailed, right? Because the ones that will ask you to come and upload, you just need to put something together and give to them. But if they are inviting your prof to come and use a link, just know that they are in for serious business. So make sure that in such a case, you try to give your prof a lot of details about yourself. And for me personally, I think references should be a bit long. Not that what Yemisi have said is not good, but just that it's another, like Moses have already justified, when there is a tie, it could be what they will go and use to break that tie. If your prof have not written extensively, how would they know how to assess you better than someone else, right? So it's not as if what she has said is not correct, because nobody's interested in the stories. But so long as these stories are making sense, then it still goes that they refer you very, very well. But then always remember that more than the prof, more than the office, the most important thing is getting a referee that will word you very well. Somebody that will give you a very good recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So I think the last part is usually after the whole process, they normally do interview. So we'll start that process now about the interview before we start taking questions from the chat box. So I believe you'll be getting value. So like this video and subscribe to this channel so you keep getting more value. So Yemisi, I'll ask you this question. So did your program have to do like an interview after you submitted the application? And how did you go about it? What was the application, the interview process all about?
Okay, thank you so much. And thanks to everyone that has stayed until now. So for the interview, like personally, one thing I used to tell people when I come for programs like this is that you don't have to really be worried about the interview. Just wait, calm down and wait first. And during the interview, I think it's actually good to prepare ahead, because once you get to the interview stage, that means that every other competition about your recommendation, everything, it means that it's down. It means that what will stand you out at that point is how well you are able to defend what you have. That means you need to rely more on your communication skills. So that means you need to practice ahead. And sometimes I feel like, at some point before now, I'm like, guy, I studied English language. I can talk. This is natural. I can do it. But I realized that then I started rehearsing my interviews when I got the interviews of the 2 scholarships I got. I started rehearsing it. I didn't think I should rehearse. Then one of my mentors told me, you have to rehearse this thing. He was asking me questions and I became dumb. Like, this is not me now. Then I realized that I have to actually sit down, plan my answers, and rehearse it. And it didn't make sense to me, but it helped me because I applied for so many scholarships. I got 2 interviews and I aced the 2 interviews and I got the 2 scholarships. And those were the only 2 interviews I'd ever gotten. So but I had to actually practice, I had to reason some questions. I had to ask people who have been in the program, what kind of questions did they ask you? Like me, I just go around, I ask plenty of people, and then I draft the question, and then I draft the right answer that I think, and then I send it to people. What do you think about this answer? I'm like, it's good. And then they're like, they edited it. And then I call someone, sit down, and then they ask me questions, and then I answered, And a lot of preparations went into it. And so on the days of the interviews, my internet went really bad. I was at the office. Yeah, my internet went bad. I was at the office. I'm like, guys, see, my internet has gone really bad, but I need to do this. But I was calm because I already knew that some of these issues are going to happen, and someone has already coached me through it, that the most important thing you need to do is to be calm when this happened. So when my Erasmus started messing up, I was in the office, my laptop stopped, the Zoom stopped processing, and it's telling me it has to download a new version. I like it by me. So I ran into my boss office and like, boom, your laptop. And I told them immediately, I sent them an email, please, my internet is really frustrating me, but I need you to give me some minutes. And like, there's no problem, we are here for you. And then when the internet came back, they could hear me, but I could not hear them. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you know what? I need to do this interview, but I don't know what's happening. Like, no problem. Since we can hear you, we'll ask you the questions. We'll type the questions right on Zoom, and you can answer it. So it was the craziest interview I've ever done. Imagine me talking and feeling like I'm talking to myself. So they send me the questions. I keep asking. I don't hear them talk back, but they shake their head. And guess what? I got it. So it was that crazy. And it could have destroyed my composition. I could have been blabbing. But guys, to be honest, I was prepared. So, but of course, you can't leave out the part of luck. You can't leave out the part of that people like the way you speak. You can't rule out a lot of chances, but you can make the chance favor you by preparing ahead, right? And when you prepare ahead, it actually reduces tension for you. So when those things really started coming my way, I was really composed because somehow in my head, I have been told that these things might happen. And I think they sort of like the composition and how I was able to manage the situation, despite how everything decided to go against me that day, So I would say that you should really prepare, give it as much, you cannot go this far, do all the work and not prepare for your interview. So you have to do the work to the last, prepare for your interview as much as possible and trust God to give you victory. Yeah, so that's what I'll say.
All right, thank you. Well, you're really so lucky that they have to type and you're just answering. Okay, Moses, share your experience of interview and tips. How do you think someone can stand out, gets into the final stage, which I believe is the interview stage?
Yeah, well, for my program, we were not interviewed, or some of us were, but it was just based on the English language. Actually, my program the application was a little bit lenient when it came to selection and the interview, because we were already selected, but we didn't know actually. Some people were interviewed based on the fact that they said that yes, they can speak English, because you have to assess yourself. There's a grid, self-assessment grid. They'll say, you'll see the proficiency levels. You will select which one you think you are. You understand? So if you don't have a certificate, they'll have to interview you. And so it's just like, how are you? Tell us about yourself. And then they just need to know that you can speak English. But I wasn't interviewed. But just like Mrs. said, you have to prepare for your interview. If you get shortlisted for interview, it's just like you are 50%, more than 50% there. You understand? And you just have to prepare for it. And one of the suggestions I would give is to look for a current scholar. At that level, you will seek scholars that are willing to work with you. I mean, it's a thing of pride to have, Nigerians that have been successful in this space. Right now, you may be finding it difficult to contact scholars to review your SOP and all. But if scholars here, I was shortlisted in CHIR, and my interviews also did, they will be ready to work with you because they pass through the same thing. And then you need to hear from them. They need to coach you. So get in touch with someone who has experienced it. The only person that can coach is someone who has actually experienced it. So when you get in touch with someone, learn, practice, and then just be natural. Just like MEC said, don't give in to pressure because that thing is a disaster. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mozi. Donato, you need to share your experience. Did you have to go through any interview? What was the process like? And do you have tips for someone to, when they get to that stage? Because we believe that people are going to win the Erasmus Mundus scholarship because they want to study across multiple countries in Europe.
Actually, my program do not require the interview, right? But I think just like MEC said, it's just more of being composed during the whole process. Just try not to be rejecting, just try not to be nervous, just try to be confident but not arrogant anyway. Just convey your value and anticipate unexpected questions. First of all, you should be aware that it is all what you've given them that will form your interview. So make sure that you've digested your CV and your SOP, because they cannot ask you questions really outside of that. They could ask you random questions that could have a relationship with them, but these questions will always have a way of finding their way into your CV. So a good point of reference is to always make sure that what you've written on your CV and what you have on your SOP, you have them off heart. You've digested them properly and you can defend them, most importantly, right? So, and just try to be composed, because I think that's basically what they look at. Because when these guys are also psychological, when you are not composed, you're not organized, they begin to doubt if maybe some part of these applications are not your own, maybe you are afraid you've done something something is fishy, right? So when you are confident and you speak confidently, they know that, yeah. I think they also use interview to check if you are a good English speaker, right? Because like we said, all programs are delivered in English, of course. And you know that unlike what we have back then in the home country, a lot of seminar engagements, a lot of talking engagements, a lot of paper presentations. If you're not a good speaker, then you're not fitting properly. So there is no scholar on Erasmus that don't do these things. You always have seminars to present on. You always have paper to defend or something. These things, they come with a lot of speaking. So it could even be the only reason why a program wants to organize an interview. You don't know. So the communication thing is very, very important. How you speak, how you present yourself is very important. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, Missy, someone is asking, what should we include in the last paragraph of the statement of purpose?
Okay, what to include in the last paragraph of statement of purpose? You might just want to talk about your goals and how the program match your goals. And please be authentic. I know that I'm saying this, but I was looking for scholarships since 2018 and I got one just 2021. And since 2018, and I've been doing a lot of things. I've been following a lot of people and doing what they ask and have not been getting it. The last, in 2021, I was the most authentic about what I want. I was very, very truthful about what I want, about my goals, and it was the year I got the scholarships I got. So I always advocate for authenticity. Be authentic. I know that people give a lot of how to write and it works, right? But in trying to follow that template, you have to learn to be authentic with your story and own your story for yourself. So what do you think the program will fetch you? And how do you think it will help you achieve this value? You can add that as the last paragraph. It's what I did. I talk about how my aspirations and how I think that the program will help me. That's what I did in my last paragraph.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other scholar want to add to that? What do you think should be like? I think like the last paragraph is the final selling point where you have started pitching yourself and now you want to conclude. So what will make the story sweeter? Something.
Can I add?
Yeah, you can.
I think that, like she said, that is just the best close for an SOP. What is your career objective? And try to make sure that there is a synchrony between this objective and the program. Like we said, everything about the SOP is justification, right? So you have to ensure that every aspect of it is justifying your application to the program. Tell them you want to join so and so organization. Tell them you want to practice so and so. And even if it's not expressly stated, make sure that these things that you are aiming for have a relationship with the program, of course. So as a general structure, your introduction could just be about your academic background, or no, your introduction should probably start with a statement, a very convincing statement for your application. Maybe there is a problem, maybe there's an issue that you think needs an attention or something. You could just start with that. Then your second paragraph could be about your academic activities. And your third paragraph could be about your professional engagement, volunteering, if any, awards, online engagement and like courses and stuff like that. Then the final paragraph could just be exclusively for your career plan, what you want to be in the future, and make sure, like I said, this plan is not disconnected with the objective of the program.
Okay, thank you, Donatus. Moses, you have a question here. So someone is asking that I'm applying to CHIRO, I don't know, peak guarantee months, but I have scored 6.5 in IELTS on the same day. I have my LOM and my personal statement not yet completed. I just have 2 weeks. Shall I give my IELTS another try, or shall I take assessment by the consortium? So is this person's like, should they go for an English test, or maybe the consortium have like which one is preferable?
Okay, I have to ask, where is this person applying from? And secondly, because this is my program already. Secondly, did you study in English? If you studied in English, just go and get a letter from your school. That is what I used. I was not even interviewed. Then I think it's just about the language that she's asking. If you studied in English, you don't have to write IELTS. Just go get a letter from your school saying that you were a student here and this is what you studied, quoting your reg number and everything. And this is the year that you graduated, and the medium of education, the language of education is English, and you are proficient in English. So that document alone is enough to justify that you can speak English. So as for the IELTS, I don't know the band. I don't know the band that is required by each teacher, except I look at it, maybe, I don't know. So, but the most important thing is that you don't have to worry about IELTS if you studied in English, because I've seen the requirement this year is still the same thing.
Please,
Okay.
you guys should stop writing IELTS. We are trying to stop these guys from asking us to write IELTS.
Yeah, so the same thing, like for me, my university asked me to take an English test. I told them I was not going to take an English test. I told them Nigeria is an English-speaking country. And I told them, so we went back and forth, they're like, they're waiving this. So sometimes, even though they ask you to do these things, you can tell them to say, yeah, you have this requirement, but I learned in English. If I'm able to defend yourself, sometimes they'll listen to you and take it off. They took that off and they also gave me a scholarship. So
the highest I think you guys should do is what Moses just said, and I did it. I got a letter from my academic planning unit, the place where we get transcript and all of these things. They issued me a letter, language letter of confirmation or something of introduction. The letter actually stated that during my study at University of Abuja, I was taught in English and stuff like that. That is the best I think you should go for. Any other thing like go and write exam I think is not proper. Somebody that has studied for like 4 or 5 years in English, so now go and write exam to prove that he can speak English. How did he pass? How did he have the first class if he cannot speak English? It doesn't make sense. These things, they are new colonial vestige, and we have to start asking questions like, why are you saying we should do this? We are English speakers, of course, and sometimes it's not that you're arrogant, you're just seeking justice, and it's fair, because some of these things are not too justifiable. They don't understand, sometimes there can be some justifications for them, but not in all instances, right? Not in all instances, definitely. So ask questions. If they can justify, okay, this is really why we want you to bring an English test. We know you're an English-speaking country, but look at this, look at this, look at this. And if you think, okay, they've really given you great reasons to go and try it, fine. But I don't think they can really justify you going to go and write IELTS, no matter what they are going to say. You're an English-speaking person. Nobody can. In fact, your English, your language, your community, you cannot speak it as you should be speaking it because of English language. Then somebody says you should go and write exam to prove that you can speak English. Does it make any sense? No.
Yeah, it's okay. Exactly, sometimes because we don't speak up. So imagine like they just told me the English and I ran to write an English test. But I mean, I spoke up. So the same way to sometimes just say these things. They're even waiting for you to really see if you have that capability. And I might not really argue about the English test, because sometimes some people might not, some people say they speak English, but they still struggle with it. Do you understand? Because they want you to like understand what the lecturer is saying and stuff like that. So let's go to the next question. So someone is saying, how critical is it to have a relevant experience? Let me see, we take this question. How critical is it to have a relevant experience relevant to the program? For example, I'm interested in nanoparticles, but haven't done anything related to that area. So, yeah. How should I structure my essay in that case? And should we rank course according to the countries we want to study, given that we have given list of partner countries? So this person doesn't have experience in this area, but wants to study this course. So what's your advice?
Okay, so I would say that the first thing you want to check, like I said before, is the eligibility. What does the eligibility say? Does it say that you need experience to apply? Or does it say that, what does eligibility say? And have you checked through the eligibility and you see that you meet a high percent at least of what it says? If it doesn't say anything about work experience, good. If it says you must, if it says it's an asset if you have it, then you can prioritize the other experiences you have, like maybe courses that you did, like your academics. If it doesn't say you must have, because I know a friend who applied for a course, and I mean, she is the first class graduate, but they said that you must have at least 2 years experience in this course, but she applied anyway. So they told her, you were not given, and then she appealed. I'm like, why wasn't I given? They now screenshotted the place for her. Like, did you see what it says? Yes, even at that, So make sure that sometimes they don't ask for work experience. They just want to know that you have the stamina to actually focus on the challenges you might face when you do courses like that. So you have to justify why you want to change course. You have to justify in your SOP that this is your interest and this is how you pursue this interest. It may be in a very minimal way. And you believe that this new interest will enable you achieve the goals you set to achieve. You have to sell something. If it is not work experience, You have to sell a course you did, maybe an online course, maybe some program, maybe some course modules in your bachelor's or a program you've done before. You have to sell something. That's the importance. That's if they are not asking that you must have the work experience. So if they're asking that you must have the work experience, my brother, my sister, look for another course. But if they're not asking for that, then sell whatever it is that you have. Just sell whatever it is that you have. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So always say your strong point when it comes to scholarship. That's what I would advise. Like me, I had to justify why I was leaving my BSc in science to want to take up social science now, because they will look at the way those things, science to social science. So there have to be a story, a connection. It's the way you put your strong strength. My strong strength was that I've never worked even in the science field when I graduated. I've always been working in the social science, and I aligned to my future goal. So they're like, okay, definitely this person, she's ready. She knows what she's doing. So work on your strong strength and sell it any day, anytime. Then this question is for you. The one talking about conference. Someone is saying, if we just attended the conference but haven't presented anything, is it still worth to mention? I attended conference this, but didn't do anything there. Should the person add that?
Yeah, so when I was making my application, I attended a lot of conferences that I didn't even have certificates for. Like I would just come to LinkedIn and be told that okay, so organization is live. I will join. I will find out that it's like a conference, and I will attend it. I will write notes from that conference. I will take jottings. I will do everything, and I'll put it on my CV. So if somebody should ask me, did you attend this conference? Should I say yes? I can even start teaching you about what I learned from the conference. And before I would talk to you for like 1 or 2 minutes, I believe you believe that, okay, you are saying that this guy actually attended this conference. So while it is good to usually have certificates for conference, and even the selection committee, they know that it's not all conferences that you will get certificates for, right? So in fact, the era of certificate is gradually becoming obsolete when people will give certificate for attending conferences. The basic thing is that this conference was truly a conference sometime in the past, and you can probably give them, if it's an interview, you can give them some insight about what was discussed, what you learned, and probably how this informed your motivations to learn more and stuff like that. So go on and attend as many as you can, but try to make them relevant, especially those that you'll be highlighting on your CV. They should have a link with your program and perhaps have added to your knowledge or something.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Donatus, for the
answer. And just to add to what Yemisi asked, when you are going through a program website, you should be able to distill the differences between what they will essentially require of you as an applicant and what are the desirables. Essentials are those that they will not waive for any reason. You definitely will know because they will be stated expressly. And of course, the desirables are some of the things that could add up to your overall competitiveness, right? Like she said, the eligibility will help you identify easily if without work experience, you should go ahead and apply, or if something that you can beat around the bush and maybe bring up what you've done, like courses, volunteering. These things, they are still experience somehow, but work experience is a different kind of experience, right? So you just check if it's something that is essential, then you know that this one is no go area. But if something that is desirable, you know that okay, there's a way you can manage this thing by selling other issues, like Precious was trying to say. So don't make the mistake of wasting your efforts, because if you apply when it is an essential and you don't have it, they will not consider you. It's that simple. Thank you.
Thank you, Donatus. So Moses, I'll ask you this question. Someone is saying that, what are my chances of getting Erasmus scholarship while applying in my final year of BSc, even though I have the required documents and working experience that are related to the program I want to apply for? So this person is in the final year. Do you think the person can get the scholarship?
Please apply. Okay. For example, when I applied, I already have a BSc. I have a master's degree from Nigeria, and I'm a lecturer. But then I'm in the same class with somebody that was given the scholarship while he was in his final year BSc. So all you need to do is that you need to present a compilation of your results from 100 level to 400 level or 500 level, as the case may be. That is should I say, signed by the department. You understand? Just tell them, I want to apply for so and so. So meet your exam officers, maybe through HOD or something like that. Get an up-to-date tabulation of the courses you have offered and your grades. Do you understand? But you have to state in your statement of purpose or anything that you are still running your program, and you have to demonstrate that before the program starts. If you are issued the scholarship before it starts, you will graduate. So since I have students, I have classmates that were given the scholarship during their final year, I don't know why you should not be given.
Okay, thank you, Moses, for that question. So we'd just like to take last words from you before we end this section for today. I know you probably getting a lot of values, and we have to thank our scholars for joining us this evening. So like this video and subscribe to this channel. Moses, what are your last words for anybody who's thinking of applying to the Erasmus Mundus scholarship? Is it worth it? Maybe she won't tell us the benefits of this scholarship. So any last word, any last tips for them?
Okay, well, the Erasmus, just like every other scholarship, is prestigious. I mean, apart from the opportunity to study in diverse background, you have to mingle and work with people from all the walks of life. It's a fully funded program. Like if you are not doing anything that is better than what you could achieve in Europe back in Nigeria, it's something to go for. For example, I have to take leave from my work to attend this program because I knew that, coming here will give me this international exposure, which I couldn't trade for any other thing. So I had to obtain leave from my work to come here. So it's worth it, and just know that you will enjoy the program.
Okay, thank you so much, Moses. Donatus, so any last words, any advice you have for anyone applying for the Erasmus Mundus scholarship, things to make them stand out? Why should they apply? Just Donatus, you are muted.
Can you hear me now? Okay. I think the major thing about the Erasmus program is the uniqueness it confers with the international exposure, right? So you have the opportunities to travel to at least maybe 2 countries, 3 countries, as the case may be, to study. So this has a way, it exposes you to a lot of cultures, a lot of other things, way of life, languages, and stuff like that. So, and these are particularly good attributes for those that are looking forward to international practice. If you hope to join maybe an international organization tomorrow, consider an Erasmus scholarship instead of any other one, because by studying and living in like 3 different countries, for example, if you are applying to the United Nations, they'll say, okay, these guys is adaptive. These guys have really traveled. These guys must have seen life from different places of life, and it could have what it takes to survive some harsh, they can deploy you to any place for assignments, right? So that's one of the advantages. And of course, the program is reasonably paid too. I don't know about other scholarships, but I think they also offer good pay, right? And what else? Yeah, and you'll be given like something that is like 2 degrees, if I'm correct. Unlike other scholarship programs, you might not be like you have 2 master's degree. That's what they usually make it same. And even if some programs can even give you separately, I think there are some programs that can issue you separate certificates, up to 2 or 3, as the case may be. So these are some of the perks. And to stand out, we've discussed a lot, just trying to be intentional. Don't fraud any aspects of your applications. Don't fraud it. Please just be authentic about everything Make sure that everything you are putting on your CV or your SOP, you are not making it up just to increase your competitiveness. Sometimes the genuineness of your application is even what will attract the selection committee to you, right? So, but do some extraordinary work that makes you stand out. Take online courses, attend conferences. If you are very research savvy, you can have a publication. And if you cannot have a publication, you have a very good abstract for your undergraduate thesis or master's degree, as the case may be. If you are on ResearchGate or you are on academia, you could just upload the abstract of your thesis on those sites, move the link, add it to your CV, right? These are some of the ways you could just overshadow your applications to be like you have a publication, whereas in the real sense, you really do not have a publication. So these are some of the ways you could just see how to support your competitiveness, because it's actually competitive, and given the dynamics of the African development, it becomes competitive by the day, right? So you just have to do your best. I wish you all the best, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Moses. Thank you, Donatus, for spending your time this evening. And we wish everybody good luck in the application. So like this video and subscribe. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.